Welcome to Esther's Universe. It's a magical place full of courage, creativity, and joy. It's where anything is possible as science and woo-woo come together to teach you how to step into your power and raise your vibration so together we can heal the collective and make a positive impact on the world. If you love the pod, please share it and enjoy. Hello, welcome to the pod. I'm talking today about when you go through the kind of like a friend breakup or a situation where people are kind of ripped out of your life or they leave your life or you have to drift away from them because you just know you do and it's hard. There have been a few people who have come to me about this, like, hey, I've been struggling with this. Can you make a podcast episode on it? And when they came to me originally about it, I was also in it. And I think there's been a lot of us going through this because there's so many of us waking up, going through this awakening process and shifting our lives. And it's kind of like the universe is stepping us into where we need to go. And anything that is no longer for our path is getting left behind or removed from it. And that can be so daunting, so sad, so heartbreaking, very hard. But then, you know, when you go through it and you come out the other side of it, you have these lessons of like why that had to happen. And you kind of just integrate that into your being and you take it on as a lesson and it helps you understand how all of this works a lot more. So I think an important part of it is, well, from what I've learned anyway, is you have to give yourself closure. Because sometimes like we're not going to know why that person is leaving our lives. Or we might have the view of it, but it still hurts anyway. But a lot of the times, like, the reason that it's happening might not make sense because that person doesn't even know why they're doing it, why they're leaving your life. They're just thinking of like whatever excuse they can. And you're like, what? That doesn't make sense. Like, and then all of a sudden you're in this situation where you're like, how come my friend of however long is like blowing up about this thing? Like, that's not even what my intention was. Like, that's not even, it's like they can't even see who I am. It's so weird. Like, that's a common thing that happens. And you try and make sense of like why they're upset about that and why they're distancing themselves from you. And you're like, huh? Like, are you on another planet right now? Like, I love you. Where are you going? Why are you doing this? Like, why don't you understand? And that is, it's like there's this underlying thing. The change in you is triggering a fear in them and they don't know how to deal with that fear because they don't know that's what they're going through. So it's like their ego just looks for like whatever that they can find that seems like a reasonable reason to be mad at you for something or whatever. And that's why it just doesn't make sense because it literally doesn't. And, you know, that can be really, really painful because it's so confusing and it makes you feel like everyone's just going to leave you and you're not worthy of love and like all this stuff. And you're like, what have I done? And you try and search yourself for all the ways that you can fix a situation, which is great in one sense. It's good to learn and grow and see where your part in the situation is. Like, it's great to do that, but we can't just loop in that, you know? You can't just constantly be like, what have I done? What have I done? What's wrong with me? And we've got to get to a point of like, okay, obviously this is happening for a reason. It may not make sense on a logical sense, but energetically, this is a shift that obviously just has to happen. And that person's not going to give me closure. So you got to give it to yourself. There are other times when maybe you're going through big shifts and you're feeling like the safest thing for you to do in that time when you're making these big, bold steps and these trust falls is to not super circulate with people who are quite fearful of change because you're super aware that you need your energy to keep yourself out of anxiety and in a good place when you're going through these things. So like you don't want to use that energy blocking their fear and constantly like having to defend your choices because that's just not a vibe either. So then you distance yourself from those people a bit and you feel bad and you're like, you can tell that they don't really know why. And it's like hard to say to someone who just doesn't get it that like your vibe isn't it right now for me. I love you so much. I'll be back, but I just need to not be around your fear. And it's just like, you just got to hope that the ones that understand that you're just doing your thing and they're happy for you will stay, and others might not like that and not understand it. And you can explain it if you want. And if they don't take that well, like you can't you can't just put your life on hold to make someone else feel comfortable or better about what's going on. So yeah, sometimes maybe it's like you drifting away and you still need closure from that. It's still like you're grieving something that once was, and that's fine. Like, we grieve so many different things in life. It's not just when people pass away. We grieve so much. Then there might be, I don't know, there's probably heaps of different variations of how someone can leave your life, and when things kind of come to an end. But in the context where you just can't get closure from someone else, like, this is a huge lesson in giving it to yourself, because when you're moving into your power, into your path, like into alignment with your higher self, and you're stepping into this journey of like, okay, I'm going to see where my life can really go from here. There's going to be plenty of times when you need to give yourself closure, and not to say that like heaps of relationships are going to fall out of your life and end and stuff like that, but like when you're making big choices, big change out of your old life, even if it's just leaving a job, leaving a way of living, leaving a structure that you've like held your entire life, like all this stuff is still the same kind of thing of like something you were used to coming to an end. And the ability to give yourself closure from that and then emotionally regulate through it is what you need. So when people are leaving your life, it's for multiple reasons. You learn so many things. Like, you learn that when the universe pulls someone out, it's because you need sometimes the time to figure things out on your own. You need the time to be with yourself, to understand yourself. And then the universe is going to bring the more aligned relationships in that match your new vibration, that match where you're going, people that you can help and people that can help you. And so that's one of the reasons. Like, that's beautiful, right? Like, it's the law of attraction. Where there is a void, it will be filled. And if you're doing the things that are in alignment for you and making choices that are right for you, it's going to be filled with something that is right for you, because that's amazing. You're taking the beautiful steps into the unknown. And then you also learn that, like, there's so many shifts and changes, and when you are kind of going down this awakening path and you're stepping out of the old world and into the new world, and when I say that, I just mean like you're leaving this kind of like this societal collective thinking behind in a good way. Imagine it as a coin. So let's just say there's like a 5-cent piece floating in front of you, and it's floating kind of like horizontally. So all you can see is the thin edge of the coin. And on the bottom of the coin, like underneath, is the old world, which is basically the patriarchal capitalist society that we live in, where there's heaps of war and hunger and famine, and people are angry and they're all rushing, we're all working too hard, no one has time to rest, everyone's just really sick and tired of living like this, exhausted, drained, don't have the energy to fix it, don't know what to do, too scared because the nervous systems are shot, like all that kind of thing. That's all on the underside of the coin. And then on the top side of the coin is the new world, which is in alignment with your highest self. It is a place where you're living in your highest power. You are doing what you love every day. Even when times are hard, you have so much love for yourself. You are making choices based on your heart, based on what feels right, what feels good. You're helping others. You're learning from your lessons, and you're realizing that you're meant to not just hold them and be like, wah, for the rest of your life. You're transmuting that into something that you can use to help someone else. You're becoming whole. You are living in alignment. So that's the top side of the coin. And so what's happening through this awakening process is we're moving almost like through the coin, and nothing can go with us from that old world into the top side of the coin, into the new world, unless it is integrated within us. So it's like if you've got all these wounds and all these ways of thinking that are detrimental to you and to others and just the collective in general floating around you, the process of like the self-development that we do and of the awakening process into like higher consciousness is holding all those things and bringing them back into yourself. Because, you know, most of our lives we're taught to just not look at the pain, because our parents and the parents before them and the generations have just been like, we shove it down. We don't talk about hard things. Like toxic positivity as fuck. And that's no good, right? So we've been brought up to sort of not look at the problems, just keep working past them, keep working to get to the other side of them without really ever looking at them or holding them or whatever. It's unsustainable and not healthy. And so we integrate them. We're bringing these things into ourselves one at a time. You don't want to do it all at once. It's fucked up. But one at a time or a couple of times. The universe will give you what you need, and you're working through them. You're holding them. You're understanding them. You're loving yourself because of them. You're loving how you've grown so far, where you're at. Even if you know you've got so far to go, you're loving where you're at. You're holding them. You're bringing them into your being. And it's like, by doing that, it's like you move all the stale energy out that's no longer serving you, these parts that are just like kind of died, basically. You're moving that out of you and creating space to hold like the version of it within you in a new way, in a new energetic way. You're transmuting it into yourself and then out into the world through your heart in whatever way feels right for you, because you're using it to make the world a beautiful place. So as you do that, you move up further through this coin, like through the middle of the coin, and you start to like poke your head out the other side. And as you integrate more of it, your body moves up through the coin again. You integrate more of it into your being, and up you go. And then you're on like the top side of the coin. And there's still further to go from there. There's so much expansion to be had, so much joy, fun, learning, collaborating, dancing with the universe still. Like it doesn't just stop when you're on the top of the coin, but like that's the sort of the process, right? Like none of that stuff can come with you. And sometimes like these relationships can't either, because they're so attached to the old energy. So anyway, you'll be basically like to stay in the energy of the top side of the coin. It's really easy in the sense that you just got to accept yourself and love yourself and be present as much as you can. And if that present moment is painful, be there with it, hold it. If that present moment is joyful, experience it to its fullest. Don't limit yourself. Be so fucking joyful if you want, or just be content, whatever. Even if that's just being neutral and chill and you're just satisfied in the moment, amazing. And yeah, like we've got to, when we're on that top side of the coin, we're still going to experience expansion of our comfort zone, some challenges, like all that sort of stuff. But we'll have so much ability to integrate and give ourselves the closure that we need at the end of chapters and allow the new to come in. Like we're creating space, we're allowing the new to fill, we're dancing with the universe, and we need these skills to be able to do that up here. Like you gotta develop those skills to stay on this top side of the coin, And so some of the ways that you can give yourself closure is knowing that like everything's a mirror. So for me, there was a friendship that I had that was very, very, very dear to me. And like I looked up to this person so much. I also helped this person so much. Like I saw all of their strengths and weaknesses kind of thing, loved them for all of it. I've been in their life for, years, like 5, 6, 7 years maybe. Yeah, about that. And just really admired this person. But this person was also very quite jaded in a lot of areas and very scared to take any step out of a very controlled path. And quite judgmental as well. Upon reflection, like really accepting of a lot of things, but also really judgmental of a lot of things, because this person was really judgmental of themselves and not accepting of themselves, and very, very scared of stepping anywhere out of controlling the path ahead of them. Like they have like the 10-year plan kind of thing, like already got their retirement plan sorted, like wanting to know the entire journey and living within that. Then as I started going through my awakening process, I felt myself getting really nervous about being honest with this person about all of my change and growth, because I didn't want them to judge me. I didn't want them to leave me. I was so scared that they would leave my life if I was super honest. And so I was kind of like sheltering my growth from them, like not really sharing as much. And then I started to be like, what, fuck it, who cares? I'm just going to share it. So I started being really honest and sharing all this stuff. And they took it well and gave me like their views on the thing, and would be like, oh yeah, like that's not really for me, but whatever, maybe it's this instead, blah, blah, blah. So it was fine, but I still felt that distance in them in the sense that they were like, oh, okay, like I don't really love how she's starting to think. And I started to feel this distance in me of like, I don't feel like it's safe to tell this person these huge changes I'm making in my life because they're so fearful of everything. And I don't know, I just started to feel that. And then I also started to feel, because I started to just really step into my power and I started to share all my creativity online. And this person is a very, very creative person, very, very deep person. But also because of that total inability to just let themselves exist, they would never really, like, they shared it on their own Instagram, but which was private, I think. And like, they wouldn't put it out in the world to share the creation in the way that the universe would want them to, kind of thing. And it's not to say that everyone who's creative has to do that, but like, this person has the ability to create great things and is stifling that out of fear. And I was out here creating, putting it out there, showing everyone, living out loud, showing the process. Like, it's not perfect, but here it is. You can do it, you know what I mean? And so that became quite triggering for this person, because I was living in the way that they know deep down, like, their soul needs to live. So I was meant to trigger this in them, to show them that they can do this. And it's up to them now to either embrace that and be like, hey, that's inspiring, I want to do that too, or turn away from it and be like, what a show pony, show off, like, just be realistic, you know? And so then they did the thing that I was talking about at the start of the episode, where I was just minding my own business, and then they just picked some random thing to be super mad about and start a fight about. And it was the most disorienting situation ever. Like, it felt like my world was spinning for a minute. I was like, I love this person so much, and they're mad at me about this. And I was like, what? And I was like, am I crazy? Like, is this reasonable of them, or is my complete confusion valid? And I really, for a minute, couldn't figure it out, because it was like my worst nightmare coming true, you know? I just didn't ever want to lose this person. I'd been so sheltered as a person just because my fear of losing that person, which is so random. Like, I didn't realize I had that much of a fear of losing that person that I would even shelter my own life, because this is literally just a friend. Like, you know, it wasn't even, it's so weird. This was obviously meant to happen. Like, there's so many lessons in this. I showed my friends these conversations and they were like, that's totally fair of you. They were like, no, like, this is completely unreasonable. It's so strange that he's reacting like this, and how you're feeling is completely fair, and you didn't actually do anything wrong. Don't worry. Because I was like, I'll admit it if I'm wrong. I don't get it. I was like, I'm so confused. And then I felt like I was going to die. Like, my body started panicking. I felt like I was sick. My heart was racing. Like, all of my survival mechanisms just like kicked in as if I was literally going to die. It was like I was back in hunter-gatherer days, and the tribe kicked me out of the community, and there was a tiger approaching me, and that was it. That's how I felt. Like, so dramatic. But that feeling in us is so strong that will literally limit us, because we just don't want to have that feeling happen. Like, we're so scared of feeling that way that we limit ourselves to stay with where other people find us comfortable, so that we don't have to feel that feeling. So anyway, I let myself feel it, because I was like, this is fucking horrible. But I was like, this is obviously happening for a reason, because it made so much sense. I was like, oh, I get why. I was like, I had to trigger him into this, and he had to teach me this lesson of be yourself no matter what, no matter who's watching. You're not shrinking yourself for anybody. It doesn't matter. Like, you'll be okay. And to sit with it. So I did, and it was a bit of a journey. You know, it was one of those things where, like, I felt okay again the next day, but then the day after that I was suddenly crying, and then it was like a full-on grieving situation. And like, I was really honest and reached out and was just like, here's where I'm at with this. I love you. Like, if you ever just want to float back into my life, like, you're always welcome, but I don't know, like, I'm not going to stop doing this for you. And it was wild. It was, yeah. So I checked in with him. So that was probably like months ago now. Feels like 6 months, but it's probably only 3 or 4. I don't know. It feels like fucking forever. Time is weird now. It doesn't seem to exist in the same way it used to. But I messaged him again the other day, and he was really polite and nice, but just no heart there, you know? Like, just a surface level customer service kind of interaction that you'd give to an acquaintance. And I was like, no, this is not it. So, yeah, I was giving myself closure by feeling it, allowing myself to feel it, and understanding the feelings weren't going to kill me, and like where they were coming from, and like telling my body that, like, it's okay to release this and grieve it, and I'll just sort of be here with it while it wants to do that. I spoke to friends about it to sort of soundboard the situation, because like talking about it out loud can help you understand it more. Like, I didn't do it incessantly, obviously, but it's good to do that. and I journaled about it heaps. I did a meditation on it where I asked the universe to basically, like, I wrote down the feelings that I was having and like the core fundamental feelings they were relating back to. And I was like, well, this is relating back to fear of not being worthy, not being accepted, being cast out, like fear of dying, like all kinds of things, just these real survival kind of base fear things and self-worth things. And so I kind of wrote all those down, and then I went into a meditation and I called in the universe and I was like, hey, I've done everything that I know how to do, like in my earthly existence, to accept this and give myself closure and process this. And I'm just going to kind of hand it over to you now and ask that you do whatever it is that you need to do on your end to energetically help me move through this situation in the way that I'm meant to, that's aligned with me, and to learn what I need to learn from it and not sit in it, not dwell in it too long, not toxify in it, but just to accept it and flow with the situation. And then like I did that, and I literally saw this visual of like, it's almost like the stars all just like formed into this body and grabbed this like suitcase of emotion that I was passing over. And then the meditation kind of floated off into all kinds of different things, and I felt a lot better. I saw these beautiful versions of myself and the life that I'm going to be living, and it was kind of like this reassuring, like, this is all happening for a reason, you're going to be okay. And I was like, thank you, that's nice. And I came out of that meditation and I felt so good, because before it, that's right, I forgot to tell you this part, this was like just a random Saturday. Like I'd gone to the markets and I came home and everything was fine and normal, and then all of a sudden I just felt again like I was going to die. Like my body just, my heart started racing. I felt so sad. I felt so alone. Also, the universe had kind of blocked my friends from talking to me that day, because usually I have like a million people messaging me all the time. And I'm not just talking about like online, just my close friends texting me. And none of them were texting me. So I was like, oh my God, they all hate me, which is not obviously rational. I know that they don't. And even then I could tell myself, like, Esther, like if people don't text you for one day, that's fucking fine, bro. You're probably meant to go through something. But it was all happening because I needed the space to go through it, and B, I needed to be triggered into releasing this and understanding that it's okay to be in this. But anyway, so I like literally all I could do was lay on my bed and fucking cry. I was having a panic attack about just everything, like people leaving me, anyone who's ever left my path for some reason that seemed completely unreasonable, anyone who I've ever been afraid of leaving or losing. Oh my God, like it just so much, like it just felt like I was going to ascend and leave everyone behind. Not that I want to, like I feel like I'm always desperately trying to bring people with me, like come with me, come with me, come with me, because I'm like, I don't want to be alone at the top. I want to be at the top with everyone. I want to share it with everyone. And you can't force people to come with you, obviously. So I just do what I can and put it out there as much as I can so that the people who are going to come with me find me. And yeah, so anyway, I just was in this complete pain. My body was in so much pain. You know, when you go through like the worst breakup of your life, or you find out the most horrible news and you just can't exist for a bit. You just have to lay there and sob, and it hurts. Like that was the kind of level of pain I was in. And I was like, holy fuck. And then I did that meditation. Like I was like, okay. And I like let myself cry, let myself breathe, and then just sat with it. Didn't go on my phone, didn't try and distract myself. Just wrote down the core base feelings, like where is this actually coming from inside me, so that I could make sense of it and be like, cool, it's all right. I'm not dying. It's all good. And then I did that meditation where I was like handing it over to the universe of like, I'll work on this too, but like, I'll let you guide it. I'll let you energetically shift what you need to shift, remove or renew what you need to renew. And I was in that meditation for 3 hours, which I'm not saying you have to do that. I didn't mean for that to happen. You know what I mean? When you go into a deep state of meditation and you're having a good time in it, the time passes as if 10 minutes has gone by. It doesn't feel like 3 hours, but I saw the time beforehand and then afterwards, and I was like, Christ almighty. And it's exactly what I needed to do. And I came out of it and I felt so good. I felt genuinely chipper. I felt like everything was going to be okay. Like I needed that. It was exactly what I needed. I allowed myself to do exactly what I needed to do. And it all just kind of unfolded in front of me as it needed to happen, because I didn't try and fight it, didn't try and run away from it. And then I was able to move through that and get to a point where like I gave myself closure. And I'm at a point of acceptance with it now. So like even after that, like I was like, oh, maybe this is just today that I feel good. But like, no, like I'd never went back into a deep place of, oh no, what have I done? Like, am I being too real, too me, too honest? Like, am I going to lose everyone? Like, I didn't fly back into that place after that. And had a similar situation with a family member. Not similar in the sense of what happened, but similar in the sense of like, I was so worried about ever disappointing them. And then I was trying to hide all of this from them. And then they kind of Googled me and they were like, oh my God. And they shit on everything and made me feel real sad about it. And I was like, well, they just don't get it. I'm not going to try and change their mind. And so I did this process with that as well and released it and did all this stuff. And so that's my way of doing it. If that works for you, sweet. But you might find your own way. You just got to allow yourself to be in it, with the intention of moving through it and embodying it and understanding it, not suffering, fighting it, wishing it wasn't happening, struggling against it. Like imagine it's a river, and even though the river will hurt initially because it's really fucking cold or whatever, and you don't really want to get into it, just like get in anyway. And once you're in it, you'll acclimatize, and just like lay on your back and start flowing with it. And then the river will show you what it is that you need to move through it, to give yourself the closure, that kind of thing. Because like you can't change how someone feels, and there's no point. Like you can't control all these situations. You just got to flow with them, but not avoid them. Feel them, see what you need. So anyway, I'm in a place now where these people pop into my head every now and then, because obviously they were in my life for such a long time and I care about them still. And I still have love for them, but it's not a painful time when they pop into my head. It's not a confused time. Sometimes I do wish it's different, sure. Sometimes I'm like, man, I wish it didn't happen. Really wish that person was still in my life. Really wish I could X, Y, Z. But then when I think about it, I'm like, I remember like who they are and how they think. And I'm like, oh, if I was talking about all this stuff with them, like I know the conversation would be so limited, and that's okay. Like, that's okay. So, and other times it's just fond memories that pop in, and most of the time I just don't think about them anymore. So, sorry it took me so long to get this to you, to the people who needed this. I'm sure there are going to be other people who need to hear it. And I hope that you've found some kind of, peace in your own way in the meantime. Or if you haven't, I hope this helps. And I had to embody it and understand it and give myself enough distance. Like I share while I'm going through things, but I genuinely tried to record this episode like twice, and blocks always came up to stop it from happening. And I knew that just meant that I was meant to wait and have a better view of the situation so that I could actually give you what you needed. Everything's going to be okay. It's all going to be okay. You're going to be okay. You're not going to be alone. You'll find your people. I love you very much. Go give me a follow on Instagram or TikTok at Esther's_universe. Have a beautiful day.